All right, so here I've cleaned up my studies. You can see they look a little bit better. I've kind of come back in there with my shoe, holding it right next to it, trying to get like the feeling of what that shoe is sort of doing the side of it, right? Come back in there, decided what am I going to really have in there. Some of this stuff was just messy because I was doing it on the easel instead of doing it on the table at first. So I came back and just really figured out what exactly was going on with that. All right, so pay attention because this is a place where people frequently screw it up and screw it up and screw it up year after year, despite me saying don't do this, okay? Pay attention. What I want to do is I want to hold this thing up there. I'm going to look at the back of this thing and think of it as an archway, right? And I'm going to try to find right there in the middle, where's the line that divides that archway? I want to not pay attention to these lines that I've drawn in there. In fact, I'm going to get rid of them because they're kind of messing with me. Get rid of those. I know that it starts here and stops there. I'll maybe bring those back in a minute. Okay, the thing that I want to do is I want to look at the mass of that heel, or think of it as an archway, right? I'm going to hold this thing up there like it's a line. It's a little, that shadow's a little bit unfortunate. But I'm going to draw this thing, and I'm looking for the midline of the heel, okay? And I draw that all the way across my footprint. Now you can see that crosses on here. But if I look up here at the toe, if I were to divide the mass of the toe, it's a different line. And I'm going to do that. Now look up there and see, what's the line that kind of divides that toe in half the best. Now, depending on the shoe, this could be lots of different kinds of lines, right? Depending on the shoe. Okay, but it's likely not going to be the same line as the midline of the heel. You can see that they intersect here. They're not parallel. And what we're looking at here is an asymmetrical object. It's an object that's not the same on the left as it is on the right. And that's one of the points of this shoe thing. The other thing is it's not, it's not completely asymmetrical, though. It's kind of symmetrical. So this box is going to be helpful for us all the same. Now, here's the deal. This is the place where you really also want to pay attention. I want to use that center line of the heel to set up my box. I'm going to use my triangle, line it up with that thing, and I'm going to draw this line that's at the very back of my shoe with that line. It's got to be perpendicular to that line, okay? And then I'm going to use that to draw a line that encloses, it just barely touches the outside of my shoe. Right? And it has to be perpendicular to the line I just drew. I'm going to do the same up here. I don't want to take anything for granted here, but this should be, if I have two lines that are perpendicular, then this should end up being parallel to the back line, right? I want to firm this up a little. I got a little bit of wavy graviness right there. I should have done this before. I'm kind of going fast. Okay. Two perpendiculars ought to equal a parallel, right? don't want to take that for granted, but supposedly, oh look, I didn't even draw that all the way. Whoops. Silly me. I'm going to do the same thing here, flipping my triangle over. Sometimes these triangles are not perfect. I think they make them wherever they make them and say, that's good enough, send it off to America. Those guys don't care. That's what I think. Okay. So I am enclosing this in a rectangle. And that rectangle is based on the, let me just finish off these corners. It's based off of this line, which is the center line of the heel. Okay? I'm going to crisscross like I do. There's my center point of the box. It is not the same as the center line of the heel. Check it out, it's off a little. I want to bring this line down a little. Make this line just a little longer because I need to reference it. So when I draw the center line of my box, it's not the same as the center line of the heel, but it is parallel to the center line of the heel. If it's not parallel, you screwed up and you got to fix that, okay? If it's not parallel, your job is going to be way harder later on, right? You don't know that yet, but it will be. Okay, and then I'm going to draw this cross line. So I've got two center lines. I did the crisscross and the crisscross. You do that, okay? You're going to need those lines. Then, you know how I had this starting here and ending there, starting here and ending there, where those things touch? I'm actually going to, you know, make sure that where it stops, where it touches, is kind of the same across here. It's going to need to be when I draw. So I'm simplifying that a skosh. You can see it's off slightly. That's not going to be a problem. You can see up here, though, where I touch and I touch, that's much more in line with the center line of the toe. Okay, so I've got heel, center line, toe, center line, and I've got box, center line. Three things. You got to have them, people. Do not neglect that. Now, in terms of drawing the box down here on this thing, here's the most important thing. You have got to start with a line that touches at the bottom, is tangent to the bottom of your shoe. Okay? I am going to start with a line that touches the shoe and touches the shoe. Now check it out. Again, touches here, stops touching here. Touches here, stops touching here. That's a little bit different from what I drew over here. I think I'm going to probably end up going with this rather than what I've got over here. It's, you know, a little bit closer to, you know, what it's actually going to be. But anyways, more on that later. Okay. So I've got these touching here and here, and I've drawn the bottom one. And then I'm going to use the triangle again to find a 90-degree angle off of that bottom line that just barely touches in the back. Okay. Same thing here. Where does it touch? My only touch in one point frequently only touches in one point. On my shoe, interestingly, it's coming really close to touching in 2 points. Touches there, almost touches there. Okay. Flip that over. Go off of the bottom line. Don't take for granted that the top line is drawn perfectly, because if you go all the way around, things might get off. So take it off of the bottom line both times, both those sides. Okay, just barely touches right there. Finish that. Okay, and now I'm going to crisscross and crisscross. I'll use this, it's a little more accurate. Criss. Cross. Come back, triangle. Make sure that these are all perpendicular. Some of the studies on the last one were really wonky. Wonky is not what you were after. You were after getting, always have to draw mine a little bit, because the bottom of mine is a little messed up. I have to fix that. You have to get these perpendicular. Wonky is no bueno, okay? Crisscross. Criss. Should have gone up slightly on that one. Just a skosh. Okay, check it out. I want you to do this. All right, good enough?